To the Middle East next, where Russia has entered the diplomatic fray as Iran vows to punish Israel for the assassination of Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh on its own soil. Russia's Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu met the new Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian in Tehran on Monday, and according to state media, wants to expand Iran's relations with its, quote, strategic partner, Russia. This comes as the U.S. steps up its diplomatic efforts to avoid a wider war in the region. U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris met with security officials to discuss threats posed by Iran and its proxies to American military forces in the region. And as Israel braces for any possible retaliation from Iran, the families of the 115 remaining Israeli hostages in Gaza fear the escalation will make a ceasefire deal even more out of reach. Indirect negotiations between Hamas and Israel have so far been unsuccessful, and the threat of a wider conflict in the region appears to be growing daily.
It is not easy for Dani El-Garat to walk here in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square. For 10 months, he has been campaigning for the release of his brother Itzik, who was kidnapped by Hamas from kibbutz near Oz on October 7. But now, as the crisis unfolds with Iran and Hezbollah, a ceasefire and hostage deal seem more elusive than ever.
I support the assassinations of the leaders. I think these people deserve to die, and we need to eliminate them. The question is when and whether they are more important than the lives of the hostages. That is the question.
After the targeted killings of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran and Fuad Shukri, a senior Hezbollah figure in Beirut, Israel is now braced for retaliation and possible escalation. 115 hostages are still believed to be held in Gaza, some of whom are no longer alive. People here in Tel Aviv are extremely worried about the fate of the hostages still being held in Gaza. Fearing an all-out war with Iran and Hezbollah, people here are more on edge than ever. Life goes on as usual here, at least for now, but the threat of an imminent escalation is on everyone's mind.
It's very worrying. Things are unclear. There is a lack of information. We don't know what is going to happen. We are terribly worried about our people over there. There is no one who is leading us responsibly. It's a difficult feeling. It's not easy to be a citizen in Israel today.
For me, it was already scary after 7th of October, and I was really scared because I wasn't sure what's going to be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. But eventually, I'm sure that everything is going to be okay, no matter what, and trying to stay calm. Yeah, but it's a bit scary because you don't know what to expect.
Dani El-Garat is critical of Netanyahu's strategy of maximum military pressure and thinks he's motivated by his desire to stay in power.
We see the condition the state is in today. The country's condition is much worse than on October 7th. We're on the verge of a regional war.
In the face of growing uncertainty, the hostages' families are waiting anxiously for their loved ones to come home as the country prepares for whatever comes next.
Let's get more from DW Middle East analyst Shani Rozanes, who can put this into perspective for us. Shani, welcome. How far away are we from a ceasefire deal right now?
Well, very far. I think there's no reason to assume that Hamas would be having any interest in letting Israel, de-escalate the situation. Hamas, what is seeing now unfolding, with the threat of Iranian response on Israel, Hezbollah, and so on. This is what they wanted from the get-go. Hamas wanted to see as many fronts, Israel entangled in as many fronts as possible, and it's on the verge of reaching that goal. So there is no probably any incentive there, and also Netanyahu, I think, made a very calculus decision to go for these, assassinations that triggered the situation we are in, knowing it might have a direct implication on, any deal that is possible. So I think both sides are kind of pushing that aside for a while, though technically still talks are being held mostly because of American and Egyptian pressure, who feel like there's so much details to work in the backstage of the mechanism, and this can still be ongoing without reaching the heavy issues. But we're not anywhere close, no.
So with this being the situation, how likely is another Iranian attack on Israel, really?
Well, there's no doubt the threat is imminent. I mean, the Iranians are very clear in their, in their intentions. They communicate it very clearly. What shape this attack will take, this is the big question. And in Israel, there's a growing assessment that first, actually, it would be Hezbollah from Lebanon, who has its own open tap with Israel following the assassination of the leading military official there last week. And the assumption is also that this is the more challenging threat for Israel because of the proximity. I mean, Hezbollah sits right on Israeli northern border, and also because it managed in the last months of the war to actually dumb down its operation in a way and use less sophisticated weapons. And this is a threat that Israel is trying very much to tackle, but it's very much struggling with.
All of this works in favor of Benjamin Netanyahu, does it?
Well, in a way, I think it depends what's the end goal. He feels emboldened politically. I think he hasn't felt so strong since October 7th. He doesn't have anything threatening his position right now. Of course, there's always, the American pressure. There's a lot of pressure bubbling from the public. But I think Netanyahu sees for now that, he can sail surely until there's a new president in the White House in November. And he's hoping, I assume, that it would be Trump, and then we will have, he hopes, carte blanche to take this war wherever he wants.
Where is the Israeli public in all of this? What does the Israeli public want to see?
I think most Israelis are just exhausted. There's great fatigue. This is basically a war of attrition. We've been seeing it going on tomorrow for 10 months. There's a lot of hopelessness, but there's also great fear, of course. There's real anxiety when it comes for, waiting for the Iranian response. There's a lot of calls of maybe Israel should be more active, a sort of a preventive strike. But then, I think Israel is not in a position where it can again hit on Iran. But Israelis are exhausted, they're depressed, and I think that they're not the only ones, in the region. Palestinians are in far more dire situation, unfortunately.
We'll leave it there for the moment. DW's Middle East analyst, Shani Rozanes, thanks so much.
Welcome, Girish.